so fine. It's well, that was just a run-of-the-mill episode, wasn't it? It started off so straightforwardly, just following on from last week's episode, Evil Cooper and Ray leaving the prison, getting on with the next part of the story, especially when it felt like episode 7 had some plot momentum behind it. And then the Nine Inch Nails played a song at the Roadhouse. And then the rest of the episode ain't happened. This is going to be an episode of television that people talk about for years, decades. There is no point trying to make some cohesive sense of this. The story being told takes place over 18 episodes. It's about an 18-hour story, and we're 8 hours in. So trying to pull meaning out of this yet is pointless because we haven't seen the full picture. We've got about this much, and it's a fool's game. Episode 8 has proven that it's a fool's game to try and predict what's going to happen next. When the return of Twin Peaks was announced, did anyone have this in mind? This glory, this wonder, this... There was a time, kids, back in 1991, when we were young and hip, and we were watching this cool new show called Twin Peaks that our parents didn't understand, where we thought the backwards dancing dwarves and red drapes were really weird. And it all seems so quaint now. Okay, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'm just going to read through the notes I made as I was watching, because to try and pull this apart is a mug's game. So the first note I made, back when I thought the episode was going to be another episode of telly, was to mention Evil Cooper's tech, and I've been meaning to speak about this for a while now. A lot of people have been picking up on the old school technology, especially in Vegas and around the Dougie Coop and the Vegas storyline, thinking that that took place in a different timeline. That's been completely disproven now. The key from the Great Northern Hotel has successfully navigated the US postal system from Las Vegas to Twin Peaks. There aren't time differentials there. And if anything, this episode has probably taken great steps to let us know that it will tell us when we move to a different time period. Cooper's tech, his weird thing, which is sort of like the Evil Cooper version of Dale's dictaphone, which, remember, it recorded the telephone conversation, and it also sort of hacked into the prison website, and it also acts to get in touch with who he thinks is Jeffries and the like, and now Cooper can move physical things in the car that he's in that's tracing that car onto something else using this sort of magical, wonderful tech. And I thought it would be interesting to talk about that. And then within the first 10 minutes, I'm writing this as if wow, shit's really going crazy. Within the first 10 minutes, Ray shoots Evil Cooper, and then all these, as the credits say, woodsmen come around him, and then a sort of globular bob emerges from his guts, and I'm going, wow, what the hell's going on here? And then it's Nine Inch Nails again, the Nine Inch Nails. What on earth's going on? With a song, She's Gone Away. I watched on the day she died. She's gone away. And, obviously, we're to be thinking about Laura Palmer. I mean, the song shrieks Laura Palmer. I've written, who else could we possibly be thinking about at this point? And I love how this show is keeping Laura Palmer alive. Little knowing. So we jump to the 16th of July 1945, White Sands, New Mexico, in a time jump that instantly made me think of the secret history of Twin Peaks. There's definitely reference to the Manhattan Project in this. I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit. A lot of people are saying that the atomic detonation in White Sands birthed Bob or created the Black Lodge. No. No, we know for absolute canon fact, and we know from what Hawkes told us in the earlier TV show, his tribe have been aware of the lodges way before the Manhattan Project. Certainly this atomic detonation is a key event. It changes something. Just don't expect for any of us to know what that something is just yet. Everyone's saying that the mushroom cloud and entering the mushroom cloud sequence is a bit like the Stargate sequence in 2001, Stanley Kubrick, or Terrence Malick's Tree of Life, which I haven't seen. Don't listen to them. Go and check out Ken Russell's Altered States for the closest cinematic antecedents to this sequence. And into the cloud we go, and what's really messed with my mind is we reach a convenience store, and die-hard long-term Twin Peaks fans will know the importance of the convenience store. In Fire Walk with Me, the spirits, we're told, live above a convenience store, and for the longest time I thought that that was just a metaphor for our plane of existence. They feed and graze off us. They see us and our level of existence as just like aisles of snacks. Our world is their convenience store. And now we have to wonder whether it's not a little bit more literal than that. I'm still convinced that the convenience store is a metaphor of some kind. What really twisted my melon, and maybe I'm being too literal for something that I've just said is a metaphor, but the convenience store that we've just been shown on this spiritual plane, and we know it's on the spiritual plane because the woodsmen busy around it like cockroaches. The convenience store that we're shown doesn't have a second story. There's nowhere in the building above it for anyone to reside. I'd noted that the editing of this sequence where the smoke and then later on the woodsmen come out of the convenience store reminded me of the editing in the Mauve Room when Cooper escapes from the Red Room and goes to the Mauve Room, what I call the way station. And lo and behold, as soon as that sort of audio-visual connection is made, we're there on the Purple Sea again, moving towards now a huge construct in this mauve environment that an awful lot of people are claiming now is our first glimpse of the White Lodge, and I think that that's probably a sound supposition. We meet a character listening to a gramophone who's credited as, is it Senorita Dido? And then the giant comes in, the giant who's always been a benevolent figure. So I think it's fair to say that this mauve environment, this purple environment, is the White Lodge. It's worth pausing here. The next thing I wrote in my notes in capitals is, who is ever going to make television like this again? This is never going to happen again. Showtime gave Mark Frost and David Lynch 18 hours of airtime to tell their story the way they wanted. This is never going to happen again. So during this entire sequence I've written, I feel like we're being presented with an entire cosmology. People will be writing and dissecting and analysing this episode again and again and again for years and years and years. And in the more immediate future, they will be analysing it in the light of episodes to come. Because honestly, I think there is more to come. When Dale first entered that Mauve Room in that really whacked out episode where he left the Red Room and went to the way station and through the electricity junction box and through the plug and the sockets and did anyone honestly think that we were going to return to this sort of plane of existence. I certainly didn't. They never do weird for weird's sake. There is a cohesive world, a logic and a reason behind everything that we're being shown. We are just not always shown everything. But this episode was like a huge info dump. Like we were being given aspects of a cosmology, whereas before we'd only been looking through a keyhole. It would be like, I've been mulling this over, it would be like, so series one, the murder, ostensibly the murder mystery, who killed Laura Palmer, would be like giving someone the Cain and Abel story from the Bible, just that, Cain kills Abel, and asking them from that to extrapolate how the universe was created and the orders of heaven and hell and the like. And so if series one was that, I think episode 8 here is like the book of Genesis. So we've suddenly got a wide screen, cinemascope, technicolor idea of how vast this universe is that we've been dabbling in and looking through cracks in red drapes at. And then in Fire Walk with Me, we get a wider idea of what's going on, a deeper understanding of just quite how nasty our world's interactions with the Black Lodge are. And here the crack has been blown wide open. What more is there to come? So in an act that seems to be directly driven by the emergence of Bob vomited out along with lots of other matter, and also some eggs, by a character who is credited as the experiment. Now, is she the experiment, or is what she produces the experiment? There's a creation myth going on here, most definitely. I mean, once we go inside the mushroom cloud, seriously, time and space kind of fall down. I'm convinced we're sort of going to the subatomic quantum level in parts of this. So physics, time and space, as we understand them, kind of break down. A little like how they break down once you're in the red room and in the lodges, right? So perhaps all of this has been going on at a subatomic level. As a direct reaction to the emergence or re-emergence, coalescence of Bob, the giant seems to seed our world with something in opposition, a golden orb that Senorita Dido sees the face of Laura Palmer in. I am bowled over I'm bowled over. I don't understand it. Is that just an avatar for an opposing force, or is Laura somehow, and always has been, much more vitally important in this whole process? Then we're back now in 1956 in a 50s B-movie, monster movie, sci-fi movie, horror movie with the woodsman out on white sands and this egg opening, and what I'm calling the frog hopper, sort of grasshopper come frog hatching out of that. Is that Bob? And no one knows. And who are these two wholesome kids? I was thinking, like a fool, that she would call the boy Leland, and that we were seeing young Leland. The ages kind of match up. The ages are kind of right for it to be around that. But it's not the boy, it's the girl, and then the frog hopper goes in to her, and what the fuck? But this episode is the game changer. It really is. What comes next? I've got a feeling in my bones that after a drip, 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 we've been given so much information that at the moment we don't understand, but what we've been shown is so dense with information that what's to come might actually feel a little bit like a headlong rush. I think we might get lightheaded and dizzy at the pace that this is starting to accelerate now. What really worries me is, given that either Evil Dale or Dougie Coop have to die, one has to die for the other to truly live in our plane of existence. I'm very worried how difficult it appears to be to kill Evil Cooper.